So it's a long way of explaining how I ended up in children's books, which had started before this point, which this one cemented for me. So I thought I'd talk about where some of my ideas from my children's books, which some of you may be familiar with. Someone handed me Jumanji years ago. I had never seen a kid's picture book. My mother to this day denies this, but I don't think she ever read to me as a kid. And so the only picture books I'd seen were Dr. Seuss, which I enjoyed, but didn't inspire me to do what he does. Then I saw Jumanji and said, I want to draw like this. And of course I never could, but just like all of you, you see something that you could try to plug yourself into, it gives you a good incentive to try. And so I did my first children's book, which was this one. Thank you. I have no Van Allsburg, but it was my attempt to be a poor man's Van Allsburg, and he, sure enough, kicked me into it. And then I was hooked, because once I got out of the constraints of a 2-inch by 1-inch square, the floodgates opened, and the narrative-loving part of me came to be. Red Ranger Came Calling, some of you may remember. That is a picture of my dad down at the bottom, and of course he was partial inspiration for it. It's a Christmas story that ends up with this image of a bicycle stuck through a tree. And as again, I'm talking about where ideas come from, in particular book ideas. Some of you may already be familiar with this. This one came from a forest in Vashon Island with a real tree with a real bicycle stuck through it. I lived on Vashon and came across this tree walking in the forest, and I immediately asked around for what the legend was, and nobody had one. And this is after 50 or 60 years of this tree being there, and everyone on Vashon knew about it, but no one knew where it had come from or what the story was behind it. So that's the red flag to my bull, and I went charging in and wrote a story backwards from it, and came up with Red Ranger Came Calling. So this is the end of the book, and the book provides the legend. Mars Needs Moms is another one of my recent books. Well, before I tell you where he came from, this is a story of a little boy named Milo, who, in a fit of pique, how do you pronounce that? Pique. Says something not very nice to his mother. I'm choosing my words carefully because Milo's sitting in the front row, and his mother is too. And in a bad moment, let me say that, he said something not very nice, and wished his mother not a lot of health, let's put it that way. And instead of disciplining him probably as adequately as I should at the moment, I spun around and immediately went back to the computer and wrote the story. Which is my temptation these days, to translate everything into a good story. And sure enough, I think it did. It's one of my favorite books. And to tell you the story, so Milo has been put into his room, and he's yelling something even more incendiary back at Mom, who is exiting, and that night, the spaceship lands while Milo is sleeping fitfully, and the Martians come for Mom. And Milo wakes up and finds Mom being absconded and carried away. Milo runs after, jumps on the spaceship, because he's a curious Milo, and goes to Mars with Mom, and peeks out from the spaceship to see why the Martians have collected Mom, which is that they don't have moms on Mars. And because they don't have moms on Mars, they don't have any discipline, and they don't have any order. No one cooks their meals, or takes care of them, or cares for them. They built the massive minivans, but nobody to drive them. So they're stealing, they've been watching us for years with their telescopes, and they've realized what they really want is what they don't have, which is a mom. And as Milo is excited when he sees his mom and goes running after her, he trips, falls down the stairs, and breaks his space helmet, and he begins suffocating in the Martian atmosphere. And Mom comes over and takes her helmet off, puts it on Milo's head, and begins to die after telling him that she loves him. And for the first time, he discovers what moms are really for. Now, this was the parable that I meant to tell Milo as soon as it had happened. And if I thought fast enough, I would have presented this notion to him to better teach him how to appreciate his mom, maybe a bit better. The lesson didn't go to him, but it went to Hollywood quickly, and Hollywood snapped up the idea, and I'm going to show you a couple of secret pictures which some crew members sent to me after we appeared on the set of Mars Needs Moms, which is a new Disney production being made now with Seth playing Milo and Joan Cusack playing Mom, and a few other notables. This is the set. It's a motion capture picture. And you'll see how much fun it must be to be an actor pretending you are on Mars and you've broken your helmet and your mom is coming over and she's putting her helmet on. So this is the same scene. And when you see the movie, it will look even far more impressive than my opinion. It will look absolutely fantastic. And I should tell you that we watched this scene play out. They did it 3 times. And we came in to see the big moment in the movie. And I came in to make sure that that was still in the movie. They were going to make a lot of changes. It's going to be a fantastic looking movie. It won't look anything like my book. They've kept the heart of the story, which is really, I thought, the important part. I wanted to know that they nailed this moment. And we watched them go through this on this ridiculous stage with this kind of environment. Probably the hardest task that a actor could possibly have. And by the way, this is what they look like. This is Seth Green in his motion capture outfit. He's got a helmet on. He's got 2 cameras pointed at his face, several inches from his nose, and he's covered with all kinds of crap that he has to act in that's capturing his movement for animation later. And these 2 professional actors went through the scene 3 times for 3 takes, and were both in gobs of tears by the end of it. All the crew, you need crew with a child at least, was completely in tears after every single take. And if they can do that on this ridiculous set, we're really hoping that on a real planet Mars, with real space helmets on, it will be a moving moment, which is that's what these books are written around as far as I'm concerned, is a great moment that at the 3rd act, that everything turns on. As you can see, if you read any of my books, they've all got it. I can show you. This is the Milo from the book. And you already got a sneak peek. This is the Milo that it came from, which is he's standing at Milo. Would you please stand up? You've been waiting for this. Thank you for giving Milo his moment there. Using your children as foils or sources of material is not a new thing. In my case, I promised to only do it a couple of times.